I think the way we responded, like we just talked about when they went on that run.
The drama surrounding Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever reached a boiling point when Sophie Cunningham finally said what everyone had been thinking. For weeks, Clark had been the center of relentless targeting in the WNBA. Hard fouls, cheap shots, and a level of aggression that went far beyond the normal rookie welcome. But it wasn't just the physicality that had people talking. It was the sense that this was no accident. The campaign against Clark felt personal, deliberate, and fueled by a quiet bitterness that had been brewing in the league for months. And then, in one fiery moment, Sophie Cunningham became the face of resistance. It all started with words that cut through the noise. Sophie had been watching the disrespect pile up against her teammate, and she'd had enough. When she spoke about the criticism surrounding Clark, her frustration was raw, unfiltered, and impossible to ignore. "It literally pisses me off," she said, "when people are like, 'She's not the face of the league.' Who would be? What? Sabrina? No. No." She made it crystal clear that while the league had plenty of talented, well-known players, none had changed the landscape like Clark. "We have a lot of badasses in our league," she admitted, giving credit where it was due. "But when people try to argue that she's not the face of our league, or that our league would be where we're at without her, you're dumb as expletive. You're literally dumb as expletive." This wasn't polished PR talk. It was a teammate calling out the hypocrisy of a league that wanted Clark's fame without giving her.
I feel like every point is critical. I wouldn't really say All-Star is viewed as critical.
Protection. The turning point came during a heated matchup with the Connecticut Sun. To casual viewers, it might have seemed like another rough game in a season full of physical battles. But to anyone paying attention, this was the culmination of weeks of tension. Clark had been taking hits all season, many of them looking more like punishments than defensive plays, and the referees often seemed content to swallow their whistles. Sophie Cunningham had watched enough. When she threw J.C. Sheldon to the floor in defense of Clark, it wasn't just a foul, it was a statement, a message to the league, the media, and every player who thought they could push Clark around. This ends now. The fallout was instant. Cameras captured the moment, and social media exploded. Sophie Cunningham, a fierce competitor already known for her toughness, was suddenly the enforcer everyone had been waiting for. Which was $900, a laughable penalty compared to the statement she'd just made. "Our fines are a joke," she said with a shrug, and she wasn't wrong. She had become more than a player in that instant. She became Clark's bodyguard, the teammate willing to take the heat and throw the line in the sand when no one else would. Even in the locker room, the weight of the moment wasn't lost on anyone. Clark looked at her and simply said, "Finally." That single word carried all the exhaustion.
I think just, being in situations that have been, tough and responding really well.
All the unspoken frustration of a rookie being isolated in the spotlight, and all the relief of finally having someone in her corner. Sophie's response was just as powerful. "I got you." What made this moment even bigger was the context Sophie revealed after the game. This wasn't just about one hard foul or one physical play. According to her, the targeting of Caitlin Clark had been discussed openly in locker rooms across the league. In Phoenix in particular, Sophie heard the talk firsthand. "We're going to prove her. We're going to show her what the W really is." It wasn't subtle. It wasn't just about toughening up a rookie. It was a coordinated effort to humble the player who had brought unprecedented attention to the league. And the irony? Those same players, teams, and executives plotting against her were reaping the benefits of her stardom. Clark's presence sold out arenas, spiked TV ratings, and put the WNBA in headlines like never before. As Sophie bluntly put it, "If you're smart, you're making money off of her." Yet behind the scenes, jealousy and resentment were driving players to take her down. The viral moment with the Connecticut Sun didn't just unite the Fever.
Everybody's taking shots at us Caitlin Clark fans, the Chicago Sky vloggers.
It forced the entire league to confront its own reflection. Fans had already been noticing the imbalance. They saw the double standard in the officiating, silence from league executives, and the constant shade from other players in interviews and on social media. Sophie Cunningham's on-court stand made that silent tension impossible to ignore. Clips of her takedown flooded TikTok and Instagram, often set to dramatic music or edited like WWE highlight reels. Overnight, her follower count skyrocketed by over 1 million. Fans began calling her Clark's bodyguard, the enforcer, and Sophie WWE. And yet, beneath all the viral hype, the reality remained deadly serious. Caitlin Clark was being targeted, and the league had done little to protect her. Sophie didn't just defend her teammate physically. She went after the league, the referees, and even the media. She described how Clark endured full-body checks, late hits, and intentional contact that went uncalled. "If that was anyone else," she said, "I'd be booted out of the game. I don't even have a leash. I just have a collar and a hand on it." Her words painted a picture of a league where the brightest star was expected to endure abuse in silence, all while carrying the financial weight of the sport's resurgence. Sophie also called out the media's hypocrisy, praising Clark when it boosted clicks, then tearing her down the moment she showed any emotion or confidence. To Sophie, it was all performative.
Is in Caitlin's hands when she is the main decision maker and everything revolves around.
"Be nice," she said, exasperated. "This is what we've always wanted as a league, so who cares who gets the credit?" Meanwhile, the Indiana Fever's own leadership seemed to fumble the moment. The team president, facing criticism from the fan base, deactivated her Twitter account rather than confront the growing outrage. This was more than a PR problem, it was a loyalty problem. Fans saw the disconnect between the league's messaging and its actions. They saw a generational player being mistreated, while those in power cashed in on her image. Sophie's viral stand was as much a warning as it was a defense. "If you piss off this fan base and Caitlin Clark leaves," she said in so many words, "it's lights out." It wasn't hyperbole. The new audiences Clark brought to the WNBA weren't lifelong fans. They were here for her, inspired by her talent, her charisma, and her impact. If the league didn't protect her, it risked losing the very people who were giving it new life. As the dust settled, one thing became undeniable. Sophie Cunningham had shifted the conversation. She wasn't just defending a teammate, she was exposing a culture of jealousy, silence, and double standards. A league that wanted the spotlight but not the responsibility. And in doing so, she became a symbol of defiance and loyalty. On the court, she was Clark's bodyguard. Off the court, she was the voice saying what millions were already thinking. Enough is enough. The WNBA now finds itself at a crossroads. Does it continue to allow its brightest star to be a target for petty rivalries and uncalled fouls? Or does it embrace the moment, protect its assets, and show the world it can rise above the drama? Sophie Cunningham's viral moment didn't just call out the problem, it drew a line in the sand. If you come for Caitlin Clark, you're not just facing a rookie, you're facing an entire movement led by the fiercest teammate in the league. And now, the ball is in the WNBA's court. If you were watching this unfold, what would you do? You think the league needs to step in? Or is this just part of the game? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let us know where you stand. And if you believe Caitlin Clark deserves protection, hit that like button. And subscribe for more stories that dive deep into the drama changing the game.